Shalom, shalom. This is Dr. Philip Payne coming at you from Dr. Payne Teaches in Mountain Menim. I'm going to pick up where we left off last time. We were at the end of the Book of Judges, Shoftim, and we were at the end of the Book of Shoftim, it's Judges, and now we're going to pick up in Ruth, as it's commonly known, which begins with the statement that it takes place during the time of the Judges. So everything we've been talking about the last two episodes, everything in Yehoshua and Shoftim, that's the backdrop for what we're doing today. So in chapter 1, we read about Naomi's loss of her husband and her two sons. They had gone into Moab, famine in the land of Israel, so they went over there. Her sons ended up marrying Moabite women, Moabitesses, but then they all died. Okay, the husband and the two sons all died. But then Naomi, when she discovered that there was food again, that there was grain again in Israel, she decided to go home. There was nothing left for her in Moab. And both of her daughters-in-law at first pledged, said they were going to go with her. She told them, go home. I don't have any more sons to give you. There's no one to marry you. There's no one to give you children. And Orpah, one of them was like, oh, yeah, you're right. This makes no sense. Under no circumstances should I want to continue to be part of your family. And she left. But Ruth was different. And she did the unthinkable. She said, I'm going to be loyal to you. And she said, wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Where you die, I will die. She said, and the key words here, it's the pledge. It's what the prophets talk about and what the rabbis are trying to do in their dinim, and it's the idea. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. When they ask a convert, do you pledge to throw your people? Do you pledge to throw your lot in with the people of Israel, come what may, or with the Jewish people? I think that's how they usually word it. Come what may, and they say yes. Okay, that's one of the questions that are asked by the Bayadin. But the prophets don't even say anything about that. They say that if you join yourself to the people of Israel, if you turn away your foot from profaning the Sabbath, if you stop eating the unclean thing, then Hashem will He will bless you. He will give you a name greater than sons and daughters and a place in His holy mountain. Okay. What Ruth spoke to her that day was the profession that brought her into the people. Rabbis will tell you, oh, well, she was already part of the people because she married in. No, that's not what it says. Okay, she made that pledge, and then she lived it out. She walked it out in her life. And then after she makes that pledge, they return to Bethlehem. Ooh, I bet you that's going to be important. In early Israelite and First Temple thinking, the narrative preserves family memory tied to Bethlehem's lineage. Ruth's inclusion legitimizes Davidic ancestry through the Moabite convert, and the return to Bethlehem reinforces tribal identity and land inheritance. In the literalist traditions, the events are treated as historical. There was a famine, a migration to Moab, the deaths, and the return. Ruth's loyalty is understood as a real act of covenant faithfulness. Okay? And Naomi's bitterness reflects genuine grief within the historical family narrative. Why? Because she was a widow with no sons. She was seen as having no value. But Ruth saw her as having value. Ruth lived out the command, but maybe without fully knowing it, because she hadn't been raised an Israelite. But she cared for the widow, one of the 4 protected classes. And if you think about it, she cared for the stranger who had come into her land, another of the protected classes, and she cared for the poor, one of the four protected classes. In the rabbinic movement, Ruth's devotion becomes the model of Hesed, a steadfast love. Naomi's suffering is read as divine testing leading to redemption, and Ruth's choice to join Israel is praised as sincere conversion and righteousness. In the Hasidic movement, Ruth's clinging symbolizes the soul's yearning for divine truth, and Naomi's bitterness reflects the spiritual concealment before revelation. And the journey from Moab to Bethlehem becomes a mystical return from exile to holiness. In the modern Jewish movements, the chapter is read symbolically as exploring grief, resilience, and chosen identity. Ruth's loyalty highlights themes of inclusion, family, and moral courage. And Naomi's return reflects the search for belonging and renewal. In the modern Torah movements, Ruth's loyalty foreshadows the inclusion of the nations through Mashiach. Naomi's return anticipates the restoration themes fulfilled in the gospel, and Ruth's choice symbolizes faith, discipleship, and covenant adoption. In chapter 2, Ruth meets Boaz, a relative of Naomi's, a relative of her husband. She goes gleaning in his fields. Boaz demonstrates kindness toward her and a protection and provision of a special sort. In early Israelite First Temple thinking, the narrative preserves agricultural customs and social structures. Boaz's role reinforces clan solidarity and covenantal ethics, and Ruth's acceptance into the community legitimizes her place in Israel's lineage. In the literalist traditions, gleaning laws and Boaz's actions are treated as historical expressions of Torah ethics. Ruth's work in the fields is understood as real economic survival, and Boaz's kindness is taken as literal covenantal generosity. In the rabbinic movement, Boaz becomes the model of righteousness, generosity, and observance through the gleaning laws. Ruth's modesty and diligence are praised, and the encounter is seen as divinely orchestrated. In the Hasidic movements, the gleaning symbolizes the gathering of scattered sparks of holiness. Boaz represents divine kindness flowing through and toward the soul, and Ruth's humility reflects spiritual receptivity. In modern Jewish movement, the chapter highlights themes of social justice, inclusion, and ethical responsibility. The gleaning becomes a symbol of economic compassion, and Boaz's kindness reflects community care and dignity. And in the modern Torah movements, Boaz foreshadows Yeshua as the gracious provider. Ruth's gleaning symbolizes seeking grace and finding favor, and the encounter anticipates the redemption themes of the gospel. Now, in chapter 3, we see Ruth at the threshing floor. Naomi has a plan, shares it with Ruth. Ruth approaches Boaz, and Boaz promises her redemption. Now, in the early Israelite and First Temple thinking, this narrative was seen as preserving legal customs of redemption and inheritance. The threshing floor reflects agricultural and social realities of the time, and Boaz's promise legitimizes the future Davidic line. In the literalist traditions, the threshing floor encounter is treated as a historical marriage negotiation. Boaz's promise is understood as a literal legal commitment, and Naomi's strategy reflects real family duty. In rabbinic thinking, Ruth's actions are interpreted as modest and righteous, not improper. Okay, and she approaches him at night. Some people will try to make that scandalous. Because of the way it was done and the way he responded, there was no scandal. Okay, Boaz's restraint and integrity are emphasized, and the nearer Redeemer introduces legal nuance that have great ramifications down through the ages as far as redemption. In fact, some of you may know that from other series and stuff, of my 6 children, 5 are daughters, one of them is adopted. And she is adopted as part of the Goel custom here of the near kinsman redeemer. She's adopted, but it's a kinship adoption. We adopted someone who was already in our family and made her our child so that she would have a forever home, so that she would always be cared for. That comes from the same principle that was being applied here. Now, in the Hasidic movement, the threshing floor symbolizes the place where hidden holiness is revealed. Ruth's approach reflects the soul seeking divine shelter. Boaz's promise represents divine readiness to redeem. In the modern Jewish movement, the scene is read symbolically as agency, vulnerability, and negotiation within social norms. Boaz's response highlights ethical leadership, and Naomi's plan reflects resilience and strategic wisdom. In the modern Torah movements, Ruth's request anticipates believers seeking refuge under Yeshua's prophesied wings. Okay. Boaz's promise foreshadows Yeshua as Redeemer, and the scene symbolizes covenant grace. Now, in chapter 4, we get redemption, and we read about lineage, and we get the foundations laid out for where the Davidic line comes from. Okay, we see legal redemption, we see marriage, we see redemption of the line through the birth of Obed, and we get the genealogy. Now, in the early Israelite and First Temple thinking, the legal scene legitimizes land transfer and family continuity. Ruth's role reinforces the Davidic dynasty as a mixed ancestry, and the genealogy anchors the monarchy in the respected lineage. Now, the literalist traditions, they would say the legal transaction at the gate is a historical event. It had to have happened, or there would be no Davidic line. Ruth's marriage to Boaz and Obed's birth are understood as literal family history. If you're descended from King David, you're descended from these people. The genealogy is taken as factual lineage leading to David. In the rabbinic tradition, the elder's blessing affirms Ruth's full acceptance into Israel. Okay. Remember, as I said earlier, that was not required for her to be part of Israel. It's not what the prophet said. It's not what the Torah says, but it's what the rabbis say. Okay, Boaz's redemption is praised as righteous fulfillment of a covenantal duty, and the genealogy highlights divine providence in establishing David's line. In the Hasidic movement, the redemption symbolizes cosmic repair, a uniting of the divine sparks that have been separated. Ruth and Boaz represent harmonious union of soul and holiness, and genealogy reflects unfolding divine purpose through generations. Now, in the modern Jewish movement, the chapter represents community restoration, inclusion, and legacy. The marriage highlights themes of belonging and renewal, and the genealogy underscores identity, memory, and national story. Now, in the modern Torah movement, Boaz's redemption foreshadows Yeshua's redemptive work. Ruth's inclusion anticipates the gospel's embrace of the nations, and the genealogy points directly to Yeshua through David. And that is a quick summation of a very short book, which at first glance is a narrative about, you could call it the Jewish Cinderella story. Actually, I guess that would be Esther, but the something along those lines. And you see it's kind of like a prelude to something greater that is coming. But I promise you, just like if you don't read Yehoshua and you don't read Shoftim, you won't understand Ruth. If you don't understand all three, you will not understand Shemuel. Shemuel is coming, and there's a lot to it. Followed by Malachim. Okay, and if you want to really understand the Davidic history, the great stories of the monarchy, if you really want to get that, if you really want to understand who the prophets were talking to, and where all of that is, who were these people sitting on the thrones that they were sent to warn, you got to understand all that other stuff, that world building. Okay, so I encourage you to go back and check it out and consider it, all of them. Look at it, try to look at it through the lens of each one of those groups that interpreted it, and try to come to your own understanding. See what it's saying to you now, today. This is Dr. Philip Payne signing off for Dr. Payne Teaches and Mountain Menim. Until next time, go dig deeper, sharpen some iron.